All right, so this problem says, in the figure shown, segment XW and segment YZ bisect each other, and the two line segments form right angles with each other. If the distance from Carlo's house at point X to Cindy's house at point W is 300 miles, and the distance from the church at point Y to the cinema at point Z is 400 miles, what's the area formed by triangle WXZ? Well, in solving the problem, the first thing that you want to do is you want to look at what's given. So it says in the figure shown XW, which is this line, and YZ, which is this line, bisect each other. Well, if you remember from geometry, bisect means to cut in half, exactly half. So if the blue line bisects the red line, then that means that this piece of the red line from here to here must be the same as this piece of the line from there to there. And then it says that they bisect each other. So if the red line bisects the blue line, that means that this piece must be the same as this piece. So from that one statement, first part of the statement, we learned that those pieces must be equal to each other, the two blue pieces and the two red pieces. And then it says, and the two line segments form right angles with each other. So that means that this must be a right angle, this must be a right angle, this must be a right angle, this must be a right angle. It says if the distance from Carlo's house, which is at point X, meaning right here, if the distance from Carlo's house to Cindy's house, which is at point W right here, is 300 miles, well, that means that the entire distance from here to there, so this entire line from there to there is 300 miles. So I'm going to mark that down. So the entire distance from here to here is 300 miles. And the distance from the church, which is at point Y, which is here, to the cinema at point Z, so that's this entire distance here. If that entire distance is 400 miles, that means the distance from here to here, actually here, is 400 miles. That essentially means, and I'm going to erase some of this stuff, that means that the distance from here to here is 400, and the distance from here to here, this line, is 300. So if I think about that a little bit further, that would mean, remember that this is bisected, if the entire thing is 400, that would mean that this would have to be 200, that would have to be 200. And if this entire piece is 300, then this part would have to be 150 because it's the same as the bottom part of 150. So I'm going to erase all this and let's put down that. So I know that from here to here is 150 miles. From here to here is 150 miles. From here to here is 200 miles. And from here to here is 200 miles. So the question says, if all of that's true, and let's not forget that these are right angles, if all that is true, what is the area formed by triangle WXZ? Well, triangle WXZ would be W to X to Z. That would be this triangle. So what I have essentially is a triangle, definitely not to scale, but just a sketch, where this is 150 miles, this is 150 miles, this is 200 miles, and it asked me what's the area formed by that triangle. Well, if you remember, and that's at a 90, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And remember, height is your altitude of your triangle, and those altitudes are always at 90-degree angles. So if you notice, this 200 is at a 90-degree angle. So that would be my altitude. And remember, the altitude is always the highest point to the base. So if my altitude is 200 miles, if this is the altitude, then this must be the base. Well, the base is 300 miles. I can't leave out the 1/2. So then to figure out the area, if I follow order of operations, multiplication to division, excuse me, multiplication goes left to right. So 1/2 times 300 is 150 miles times the 200 that is, and 150 times 200, well, 2 times 15 is 30, and then I have 3 zeros. So that will be 30,000, and remember miles times miles, because we treat those units just like variables, is miles squared. So the area of that triangle is 300,000 miles squared. So that's how you would solve a problem similar to that.